So my parents and I are in the High Sierra Mountains for a little bit of fishing, and I wanted to show you guys a little bit of something. We're near the town of Levining, which is down that way, and right over there is the 395, and we're going to go down this dirt road to see what this marker is about. There is a very small cemetery that I've been trying to convince people like Rhetty For Fun and Adam the Woo to go visit. I'm trying to hold very steady. This is a good time for you to pause this and read this yourself, because if you're like me, you probably don't like being read aloud to. I've never been a fan of having people read aloud to me, even as a child. I'd prefer to read to myself. Okay, so next up, going down that road. I apologize for the bug guts on the window. The road is pretty well maintained because it goes right by the power plant. And of course here's all the lovely power lines. And then you gotta go, yeah, down this way, Dad. Now sometimes out here, hither and yon, you might see remnants of the town that was taken out by the avalanche. Once you're up close to them, you might see old foundations and stuff. Not always. It kind of depends on how overgrown it is at the time that you come down here. Right now it's October, so everything's kind of getting ready for its big winter sleep. So right about now we're kind of parallel to the 395. And there's lots of things to see out here besides the mountains and everything, and that's what I kind of want people to know. You know, of course we come out here mostly for the fishing, but like if you're just into like sightseeing, there is the ghost town of Bodie, not far up from the 395. And there is, of course, Mono Lake, which is a landlocked saltwater lake. I mean, it's got streams going into it, but obviously it's not attached to the sea at all. And it's salty. Yeah. And as Mom said, 10 times saltier than the Great Salt Lake. And the only thing that lives in it is brine shrimp. And there is like a beach along Mono Lake that you can go into the lake and try to swim, but you mostly just float because it's so salty. And near Mono Lake there is actually a historic ranch that you can go see as well. It's of course no longer in operation, and you can't enter any of the buildings, but it's still kind of fun to see. So this is the entrance to the cemetery, and just real quick, that's Mono Lake out there. And you can see it's a small cemetery, but if you actually pause the video and read where I told you to read, you know that there's not many people buried here. And that second set of footsteps, it's not ghosts, it's my dad. As you can see, they try to maintain it. Of course, it's in a very remote area. Obviously, that's the original headstone, and this is a new one that they put out. And this poor person doesn't have a headstone. They just have a couple of rocks. Hopefully they'll eventually have a headstone. Now I could have sworn the last time I was here there was 2 graves here, but I could be wrong. Because again, not very many people actually died in the avalanche. This poor soul. See if I can get real close. Maybe you guys can read the name. Basically, you would have to do a rubbing at this point, I think, to be able to read that one. But here's one where you can read most of the name. I'm going to use the zoom on my the camera for once. You know, I just thought coming out here, letting people know that it exists. Maybe some folks out there would like to contact the Lee Vining Chamber of Commerce and see if they can donate anything towards maintaining and maybe getting some of these people some new headstones. And like I said, I'd like to get some of the famous YouTubers who do a lot of this sort of stuff out here, like Adam and the Woo and Rhetty For Fun, and maybe Jacob the Carpetbagger, maybe some of the ghost hunting ones too. This is like the only child that died. It was like several adults, 1 child, and a dog. And I believe the dog is buried here too. Because the only ones buried in this tiny little cemetery are those who died in the avalanche of 1911. You know, and there's some that would say that this doesn't matter because they're dead, what do they care? But we should care. We can learn from the dead, no matter what you think. We can learn not to build in certain ways. We can learn that we should vaccinate our children and our pets. The dead should be remembered. The dead should be honored. The dead should be cared for. Because even if they have no living descendants, they were still loved at one time. And it's a shame to forget them. Now the last time I was here, it looks like it's been recently cleared off, but the last time I was here around this one, where there's the new headstone, there was a whole bunch of coins. People just took to leaving coins here. There doesn't seem to be any now, but I'm leaving some anyway. And I'm sure those who maintain this will come out and retrieve them, because only a real scummy person would steal from a grave, you know? So I'm going to turn my camera off now, and hopefully before the sun sets, there's one more thing I want to be able to show you. So we're now in the town of Lee Vining, and I wanted to show you another view of Mono Lake. It's really big, and there's also inactive volcanoes out the other direction, down this way. I was trying not to get the bands in here, but this is what I wanted to show you. This is kind of just off 395. Now, this is next to the door to their little park over here. This right here is actually an old one-room schoolhouse that's been turned into a museum. Of course, it's closed right now. But they have all sorts of interesting things out here that have to do with, like, the history of Lee Vining and the history of mining. But probably the most interesting thing that they have Are you ready for it? The upside down house. Yes, this is an entire house that has been built upside down. And I'll come up here to the sign. And again, this would be a good time to pause it so you can read it for yourself. The history of the upside down house. And this is so cool. She not only built this house, but she was one of the first female projectionists in Hollywood. So, see if we can't get a view through one of the windows here. As you can see, even the flowers are upside down. Windows, of course, are very dirty. My microphone is kind of in the way, so I can't get real close to the glass. I might try the other side. One thing I have found with when you try to film houses and stuff that you can't enter, it's really a good idea to get your lens directly against the glass, but I can't do that because of the microphone. This, of course, want to turn your computers upside down to read that, folks? I'm not turning my camera upside down. This is a little donation box, but don't have any money on me right now. I gave the last of it at the graveyard. You know, of course, it's chained, so you can't get in there. I don't know if they actually ever open it for people to look inside. I've never been here when it's opened. Maybe if I can get one of those famous exploring YouTubers to come out here, they might get to go inside. Let's see. Perhaps this side would be easier. Nope. I honestly wish I could remove my microphone at this point. And zooming in doesn't help. Because the window is so doggone dirty, I guess all you can see is my reflection. It does look, from what I can see on this side, that they must let people inside a little bit, because I can see along here ropes to keep people from getting in too far. So maybe there are certain events and days and times when it's open to look inside. I've never seen the inside. My understanding is that even the furniture is upside down. So that is the famous upside down house built by one of Hollywood's first female projectionists. I'm probably pronouncing that word completely wrong, but I just really thought you people needed to see this because it's a part of not only Mono County history and our history in general, but it is also a part of Hollywood history.